Hello and welcome into my own personal Groundhog Day. Much like the game that I'm about to be talking about, where you just do things over and over and over again, it's been a while since I've had any major tech issues, but major tech issues have cropped up, and then on top of that, it's just one of those days where an alarm was suddenly going off in the background or anything was picked up. So this is about the fifth time I've tried doing this, and I'm hoping this is the final one. But this video is an IGN give this a 7, but is it really though? And today I'm going to be taking a look at Saros, and very quick bit of introduction. If this is the first time you've ever watched one of my videos, ADHD to fuck. I will go off on tangents. On top of that, I am legitimately tongue-tied. It is a thing. I will never be able to swallow my tongue. This is an amazing advantage. Unfortunately, this also comes with some disadvantages, like the inability to speak as fast as I can think, which means my tongue starts to flub words and I start to mix things up, and there'll be a little bit of junk, and sometimes I'll have to start a sentence over again, basically. It is what it is. I also have a lot of filler words, like I will use like a lot. So yeah, just a bit of a warning. If that sort of thing isn't for you, you might as well leave now, because I can guarantee you're going to hate this video. So with all of that out of the way though, we are going to finally begin with IGN give this a 7, but is it really though, with Saros. And I'm going to start with some negatives first, because actually, to be fair, just in case this is the first one of these you've seen, my official kind of jokey rating on these is, what the hell were you thinking, IGN? This is clearly better than a 7. Yeah, actually, I think a 7's fair for this. Or, what the hell were you thinking, IGN? This is clearly worse than a 7. And the whole point of these videos is to kind of joke on and take the piss about the fact that all anyone cares about in a review is the score. And it's maddening to me, it really is. I used to be a YouTube reviewer. I've got so many reviews up on this actual channel right now, before having to take a huge break due to some health issues, to say the least. And I never did a score the main reason was that all anyone cares about on a review is the score, and they don't care about the actual content. They prejudge a game before it comes out. If they think it's a 9 and then suddenly it gets a 7, how dare you, and all this other stuff. And after watching Michael Hyam's review, which I truly do love the guy, I've been a fan of his for a long time. He's one of my favourites at current IGN. I love his roommate, Blessing, because I love Kind of Funny games, and when Michael's been on Kind of Funny, I think it's been great. And yeah, I am a fan of his, but that doesn't mean that obviously I automatically agree with all of his opinions or anything. So I'm now going to start though with the actual bad of Saros, and unfortunately there is quite a bit for me to cover here and might require a tangent or two. I have several disabilities. On top of a lot of like mental stuff, like again the ADHD, my hands, as I'm aging, are completely fucked, and I can use a controller. I actually prefer a controller to mouse and keyboard these days. Keyboards really hurt, but I have to use a controller with back paddles. And I actually went out my way to buy one specifically for this, and had to get something called a Victrix Pro, which controller-wise feels kind of great. It's the closest I've came to an actual Xbox controller on a PlayStation, and it has 4 back paddles, which is the important part for me, because I need to make one jump, one dodge, and in this square and triangle to basically pick things up, I've fully customized a few things, because there's also the ability to like use your arm as a weapon now, and how you usually use that is you push down only just enough on the trigger to be able to actually do that, but if you push it too far it goes to your gun. That I don't have the fine motor skills to be able to do that. I kept finding, at least with this controller, maybe it does actually work better with an actual DualSense, but with this controller I really couldn't do it. I had to keep locking the trigger into a twitch position to be able to do it, so I've fully remapped that as well. I basically need all of my face buttons behind my hands so I can actually use them, and I can just keep my thumb on the right analog. I don't understand why controllers evolved the way they did. I personally feel that all controllers should be 4 back buttons, and if we're going to have face buttons, they should be for unimportant stuff that you don't need to use in the middle of combat. The fact that I can constantly move the analog, keep my aim around while jumping and dodging, and never have to worry about that, is a huge game changer and an advantage. What advantage I would like to have, though, is I'm visually impaired, and I've hated the HUD on Returnal for the longest time, and I hate the HUD on Saros as well. The fact that I can't change the colour of any of this stuff, the fact that, and I understand to some people, you may genuinely be thinking, well, the colour isn't that similar or anything. No, when you have the eye impairment that I've got, I see light in a weird way, and I basically, a single dot of light shows up like a bow, and I don't mean a bow and tie bow, I mean an archery bow. It shows up a bow, I get a curve of light. So bullet hell games are particularly problematic for me, but I can still usually play them because I've got a lot of skill. Not that obviously any of this will be shown here. I'm playing live whilst recording and trying to look at stuff and talk, so the gameplay is going to be shocking. You're going to see me die about 1 billion times. It's going to be funny that when I finally roll credits on this, like finish everything, and I put the game down and set it down for good, I'm going to look at my death counter and I'm going to be like, wow, it didn't really seem like I died 550 times, and then I'm going to remember that the amount of times I had to do this review, you know? But anyway, my visual impairment makes bullet hell games particularly difficult, but I do usually have a lot of skill with games, so I can make my way through it, especially if it's a roguelike like this, where like you're gaining progress, so eventually I can just overpower the problem. But the fact that my HUD and everything is tiny, and I can't customize the size of it, I can't customize the shape of it, I can't customize the layout, I can't change the colors of anything, everything blends into everything. I might as well not actually have a HUD, which, again, another quick tangent, but when you're playing a like genuinely beautiful game and you're looking back at it in your mind, do you ever remember the HUD being there in your mind's eye when you're replacing yourself, when you're trying to remember the first time that you saw Dinral flying across Death Mountain, you know? Is the HUD in your memory? Yeah, I wish developers would let us like fuck with the HUD, because it feels like no gamer really thinks it's that important. Like, no one ever really says, oh my god, do you remember that game for having an amazing HUD? No, it's usually just a case of, it's there, it tells the information that I need it to. And I, personally, because of my disability, do not get the information that I need from this HUD. So, it sucks that I can go out there and buy a fancy controller to be able to fix one problem, but then I can't actually do anything in-game with the accessibility. I can't change my HUD to blue, so I could actually have it stand out. But even then, a lot of the bullets are blue, so I would probably change it to purple or green or something. I'd change it to something that would actually stand out. I'd move my map in the top right corner, where I'm used to a map being, or maybe the top left corner, because, not surprisingly, I'm usually looking at the enemies, and I can do a quick glance to the top right while looking at the enemies, but down to a glance to the bottom right, I'm finding I lose track of things so often. I don't like the HUD in the game, and it sucks that this was a problem with Returnal, and with the visually impaired community especially, this was a problem with Returnal, and it sucks that they've just not bothered to do anything to improve upon it, to fix upon it. So that is a noticeable markdown, personally, for me with this game. It is something that truly does hinder my ability to play it. I'm not happy with it. The next major negative for me, the story and the atmosphere of Returnal, with Selene being the only character, and whenever you found a log or anything, it was of Selene, and you were piecing things together in the mystery, and she was trying to work out, well, how am I getting messages from past lives of myself, and this is weird, and the isolation of it all, and finding her house for the first time, and it's like, oh, all of that stuff is done absolutely magnificently. Saros, I love Rahul Kohli. I truly do love Rahul Kohli. He's been an actor that I adore for a long time. I don't know the first thing I ever saw him in. The first thing I remember seeing him in was iZombie, but for all I know, he could have been a voice actor in something that I saw before that. But I loved him in iZombie. I was really happy about the fact that he had this role, because I'm like, this is a developer I love. And yeah, I didn't finish Returnal. I'll get onto that in a bit. Yeah, I didn't finish Returnal, but I liked enough about it, and I liked Selene, and now essentially Selene's going to be Rahul Kohli, and this could be a really good thing. He's amazing in it. The support cast that he's got, I don't want to be too mean here. This could be a case of he's doing this as a favour, and this is a small studio who doesn't have a lot of money, and maybe they used people who actually work for them. Maybe these are professional voice actors, but much like how there's hockey players like Cale Makar, there's only one Cale Makar in the NHL. There's a lot of really great defenders, but even the second best defender in the NHL isn't Cale Makar. In the support staff in this, like the support cast, none of them are particularly good, I find, for me personally. The fact that the performances are therefore a little grating to me, and I have a lot more of them, and while I'm in the middle of walking to an area for the first time, I'm getting that story pushed onto me because people are contacting me, and the story's very intrusive, it's not very good, and it's not very well acted. So it totally changes the tone of the game, the feel of the game, compared to Returnal, which again, I think nailed a lot of it. I really do not like the story at all. So, with those two majors out the way, I genuinely can understand why, for some people, this game is a 7. And to be honest, as much as there might be a lot of people out here who don't want to hear it, this game might be even worse than the 7 to a lot of people. I think Saros is going to be this year's kind of Metroid Prime 4 mixed with Monster Hunter Wilds. Monster Hunter Wilds was amazing, and it was, for a short time, I was thinking it was going to be my game of the year. It had done so much to Monster Hunter that I wanted for so long that the gameplay improvements were brilliant. But then I'm going through and I'm like, well, the story still sucks. And the end game kind of sucks, and there's not really any support for content, and I'm already done, and the performance issues are really starting to grate on me. Even though I've got a really, really good PC, my performance was tanking all over the place, and I was having severe issues. Like, the game was barely playable when I was first playing it, and it only got worse. As far as we're aware, a lot of that has been fixed, or is about to be fixed, and we might be about to get an expansion, and it'll help things out. But all of that to say, Monster Hunter, and to a lesser extent Metroid Prime 4, it came out and there were a lot of people going, oh my god, this got some of the highest highs, but it's also got some of the lowest lows. I feel this is going to be that kind of game. I think there's a lot of people angry at that 7 already, even though 7 means good. And it's because they've either played the start, where the start comes off much better than it is, because when you're first playing it and you're getting all the new gameplay, I'm finally starting to branch into the positives about this game. But I'm going to finish my thought before I forget it, which I might have already done so. I think people might have essentially prejudged it and be playing it in the state when it's like putting its best foot forward. And then by the time you finish the game, and by the time you get to a certain point of the game, and by the time you're replaying, all of a sudden you'll start to notice these flaws a little bit more, and you'll start to realise, and I think people's own scores are actually going to dip. I think people are reacting because they're still in the honeymoon phase, and he's finished the game. And I'm not saying that to try to like come off as a weird defender or anything, because mainly as well, it's his opinion. And everyone's got one. Like, seriously, we all like different things. We all have different problems with games. We all have different struggles. I'm, as I've already said, visually impaired. That's not going to be a problem for most people fucking playing this game. It's just one of those things that we're all different. We all like different things. Gameplay-wise, though, to now finally move on to the positives, this is so much better than Returnal. It's not quite Hades 1 to Hades 2, where Hades 2... I think fixed everything, every little problem I had with Hades. By the way, it was my Game of the Year 2020, so I'm not trying to sit here shitting on Hades. I just, again, over time, you start to have these little problems, and I think Hades 2 fixed everything for me. And the gameplay was exceptional. I loved all of the new weapons. I loved I didn't enjoy the story anywhere near as much, but everything else, the music, just how much more of it, how many more biomes there were, how many more things to do. I played Hades 1 to completion, stopped playing it. I played Hades 2 to completion, and I was like, I'm going to get every achievement because I do not want to stop fucking playing this game. I think Saros might turn out to be not quite like that, but similar, because I'm skipping the story already. I'm at the point where it's like, even when I get new dialogue, I don't care. I don't want it. I don't want it interrupting me because I'm just so done with it. But once I've finally done all of that, once I've heard the last dialogue line, it won't be an issue, and I can just sit and focus on the gameplay and play it and play it and play it. And my hopes are that by getting really good with this, I'll be able to finally finish Returnal. And maybe it's time that I actually touch on why I didn't finish Returnal. Again, games like this are going to be really hard, but I've got a high skill ceiling, so I can usually overcome them. I was overcoming it with Returnal, but it was taking me so long that by the time I'd finally unlocked the second biome in Returnal, I was so sick of playing Returnal, it's unbelievable. And even though I was loving the story, I just didn't want to continue. Because even the way the shortcut system worked, you still had to play through some of the first biome, and you're still going through the same stuff over and over and over again, and I didn't really like that the Metroidvania elements weren't really like shortcuts or anything. I wish that they'd leaned harder into it. And I still wish that they'd leaned harder into the Metroidvania elements of Saros. If they make a third game, I feel... honestly, kind of just completely skip the story, focus only on the gameplay, and I think you'll be able to make something that is so exceptional that people will go wild for it. But the problem is, Housemarque tend not to really do third games. I'm a huge fan of them, and I love everything they do. They did Dead Nation, then Alien Nation. I think they've done 3 Stardust games, but honestly, the Stardust games are all so similar that one of them might just be a HD version of one, and I forgot. They did Nex Machina, they did Resogun, which is still, to this day, one of my all-time favourite games. And I'm gutted that we actually never got a sequel to that. But if they ever make a third one of these, I want them to lean harder into the Metroidvania elements. I want them to add in some accessibility options, obviously, and I don't care if they actually include a story. Just make it a general basic-ass roguelike, and I think it'll be a better game for it, and it'll be truly phenomenal, because everything they've done with this, the fact that the gameplay feels better, I like a lot of the newer elements to it, I really like the new skill tree. Either I'm completely misremembering, because again, I did end up bouncing off it, I don't think Returnal's permanent upgrades were anywhere near as close to permanent upgrades like this is, and a skill tree for you constantly unlocking the ability to earn more stuff and to get better shield recharge and to get this, that and the other. Like, this feels like a proper traditional roguelike's actual structure, so it means that even if I am really struggling with my visually impairment issues, I can just brute force it, and eventually I will get to the point where I'll be able to manage, because eventually even I can see through the noise that my eyes create. It's just a case of when everything is so similar and I'm only just learning the game, and even just doing that scan there, the scan is the same colour of everything else. If I accidentally click it in combat, there's all these little issues like that. It just makes it harder for me. But again, going off on a tangent, losing train of thought, probably already have lost train of thought, so I'm instead going to continue on. I've mentioned some of the positives that I have with the gameplay, the skill tree and everything, and this is why I now need to essentially see it. I understand that this could be some people's game of the year, just the same as I understand some people could be very mid on it and some people could be very against it. Unfortunately, there is a reason why I brought up Monster Hunter Wilds and Metroid Prime 4. I think this is going to be one of those incredibly polarizing games that over the next 6 months, how people perceive it's going to change in the zeitgeist, because from a gameplay standpoint, it's excellent. From all of the little polish and the little things here, there and everywhere, it just really doesn't cut it. So if you want the story and you're not impressed with the story, you're probably going to enjoy this less, even though it's a technically better game than Returnal. If, however, you hated Returnal storytelling and you hated how isolated and everything it was, even though the performers aren't exactly amazing or anything, they're not awful levels of bad. They're not like Castlevania Symphony of the Night where they become a meme levels of bad. They're just there. They're just people, essentially. I think you'll end up loving that, because it'll be a case of everything that you disliked with Returnal is gone, and instead you also get the better gameplay. I truly do feel this will be some people's like upper echelon of game and some people's bottom and some people's like middest of mid, and personally, I think IGN's 7 out of 10 was a little low. So, as much as I always say, what the hell were you thinking, this is clearly better than a 7, I don't think this one's as clear-cut. I really don't think this one's anywhere near as clear-cut. I think I can't even say what the hell were you thinking. I'm just going to say, I personally think it's better than a 7. But I fully understand why Michael Hyam's review was the way it was. I understand all of his complaints with it. I agree with a lot of them. And it's just one of those that you have to weigh up what is a problem versus what isn't a problem for you. And also expectations and what you want from it and what you want going in from it as well might be an issue. I didn't particularly have much hype for this game because, again, I didn't finish Returnal, but I liked Rahul Kohli, and then I started to hear that they'd made it easier, and usually that's a problem for me. I'm like, oh, why are you doing this? But I was like, actually, yeah, because, again, by the time I'd got to the point where I was feeling confident with playing, I was sick of playing it, and I don't want to bounce off this, so maybe I can play through all the Saros and then jump into Returnal. And that might actually work out really well for me, because then I'll get, like, the really good gameplay, and then I'll be jumping into the really good story. But for a lot of people, that's not going to be the way they experience this. For a lot of people, they experience Returnal, and then they're going to be experiencing this. And it's going to be one of those games that for every one new thing that you find that you absolutely love, there's going to be something that you really can't stand. Like, I really love the shield. I love how the melee works versus the energy sword. I don't know why. I actually like the energy sword, but this, I used to have real difficulty using the melee weapon in Returnal for some reason, and I've never had that same issue happen once with this. Maybe it was just some weird janky bug or something, but I genuinely do not struggle with it. I like the fact that you've got the super weapon arm thing. I dislike that obviously it's naturally mapped to the same button as aiming down on your gun, and I do think that fully customizing your controls is very much required for this kind of game. And if you can get back paddles, at least 2 to be able to have jump and dodge. 4 is probably superfluous for this kind of game, but I also wanted to future-proof, because now that I am finally playing things on the PS5, I will eventually need a controller for all of that, because again, I truly do not use any of the face buttons anymore. It is just easier for me, it's less wearing on my hands, it actually spreads the burden out, so each finger has one button instead of the thumb doing everything and the analog, so I find that my thumbs like locks a lot less with the arthritis. It's just one of those things. Even if you don't have any dexterity issues, I strongly do recommend back buttons for everyone, because it just makes more sense. And this isn't a whole do you do inverted or uninverted and everyone's got a preference. Like, some people truly do have a preference, but also some people are creatures of habit who are stuck in their ways and refuse to utilize back buttons because, oh, well, I've always used controllers like that and I've got the muscle memory. It doesn't take that long. It really doesn't. I mean, if you're only playing 20 minutes of games a day, it'll probably take a month. But if you can genuinely give yourself 1 or 2 like 8-hour sessions, and I don't mean like 8 hours at the same time, but like if you can, because I understand for a lot of people that would be a lot of gameplay, but when I first started, I was going through a migraine spell, so I actually managed to play for about 8 hours the first year, and I started on a game that I know very, very well, Borderlands 3, and I also started on, I want to say, Elden Ring, to really, really practice and get good with them on a game that I was genuinely good at. And by the time I'd done my second playthrough session, I was already starting to notice, not only was I kind of at a similar level to when I'm using the face buttons regularly, I was already starting to notice an improvement with my gameplay, because suddenly I could dodge and jump and move the camera at the same time, or dodge into a hill whilst moving the camera when a giant boss is firing at your face, like flying down from the sky type thing. Like, I really started to notice, okay, this isn't just making my hands better, this isn't just like eliminating the pain issue that I'm getting, this is actually making me a better gamer. And yeah, it truly is. It's something that if you put a little bit of time into, I truly do feel back buttons, and this is one of those games that can get you into it. And that is definitely one hell of a weird side tangent. I know fine well, but I'm also kind of done with everything I actually wanted to say about about Saros. And on a lesser extent, actually, I have finished everything I wanted to say about Returnal as well, I guess, because I had to talk about both of them. But yeah, it's going to be one of those games. I really do hope that we get a third one, because if not, I think what will end up happening is we'll have people grow up playing these games and they'll have all of, not all of the same complaints I have, but eventually they'll have gone through this community of complaints, and we'll get the fan-made game in 20 years' time where someone's like, you know what, we're going to make a Saros for modern day and we're going to fix all of the little things, kind of like how Hytale at the moment is... people are calling it Minecraft 2.0 because there's so many things that Minecraft is lacking because that game is so old and you just simply can't add those features in. And now it's got to the point where people are playing and playing and playing, and it's like, I really, really wish that I could do this in Minecraft and do this. And Hytales came around and it's like, okay, we'll just make Minecraft 2.0 because clearly no one else is going to do it. I think we might eventually get to that point if Housemarque don't get to make their Magnus Opum essentially their... I hope that is the thing, because I think that's the second time I've said it. But again, this is a whole Groundhog Day video. It might have just been that I said it the first time I did the video. But I hope they get to make their be-all, end-all of this formula, because this doesn't really feel like, again, a Hades 1 to Hades 2 scenario. This feels like a marginal upgrade in some places and a huge downgrade in others. And I really do think that if you give them the time and the money to really fucking cook, they'll be able to do something truly special in this fucking franchise, in this genre. I don't know if it's considered a franchise, because again, they're both separate games, but they are the same thing. But I hope we get a third one, and I hope it fixes a lot of the accessibility issues that I have. I hope it fixes some of the gameplay tweaks that still need doing. And again, just if you can't actually do a good story, if you truly are in the case of you don't know how to do it now that you've already done it really well with Selene's, just skip the story entirely. You don't need an expansive story. I know some people play games for them, but it's like, I don't buy an NHL game. I mean, granted, I don't buy NHL games anymore anyway, fucking because of the state of that industry. But I don't buy sports games expecting a Skyrim-style story, you know. I don't go into Saros expecting that I'm going to get the fucking depth of puzzles from Resident Evil. I go into this because I'm thinking I'm going to get really tight gunplay with bullet hell shooter and fun, wacky combinations and beautiful locations. I never really went into this franchise expecting a brilliant story. So the fact that we got one the first time, and I would like to eventually see the end of it with Selene's, because I have heard it does actually land well. The fact that you've done it once You don't need to do it again. You'll be constantly chasing that high, and people are always going to compare it and look at what's happened to Saros. Just focus on the gameplay, because if the gameplay is exceptional, people will continue to play it over and over and over again. And that's the other thing. You kind of do only experience a story for the first time. For the first time! You know? Even the best video game stories, when I run through games now, I'll get to the point where it's like, I've seen this cutscene 10 times. I'm just going to start skipping it. But I'll come back if the gameplay wants me to come back, if I want to, like, re-experience it again. Just make the third one focus purely on the fucking gameplay. And I think you can do something truly, truly special. But as it is, you've still done a pretty decent sequel. And I'm really enjoying what I'm, like, experiencing of this. And I know fine well I'm nowhere near done with my time on it. But I am done, finally, with this video. And I'm going to say, if you're still here, thank you. Because this one's been an ordeal to record. It truly has. And I'm going to say, Avid Sky Fellowship, I truly do hope you have a great rest of your day. If you buy the game, I truly hope that it is the Game of the Year contender for you. Because again, everyone's got their own opinion, everyone has their own issues, everyone has their own positives and negatives with games. And this has too many negatives for me to say that it's going to be, like, in my top 5. It might be in my top 10, though. It's good enough, I think, that it might be in my top 10 at the end of the year. But, yeah, we're all different, and I've lost my train of thought again. So, until next time, bye!